Cover to Cover. Today we'll be reviewing The Chosen. If you are unfamiliar with The Chosen, it's a very popular global television show seen all around the world, and it's about Jesus' life. And we haven't seen it yet, but we're looking forward to watching it and experiencing what The Chosen has to offer.
If you like the channel, like, share, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. And with that, let's get to the first clip. Alright, so in this clip here, we got Nicodemus being summoned by the higher authority of the Pharisees. So he's on his way to meet with him to see what he wants.
It's supposedly some urgent matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're walking really fast. For old guys in sandals.
I bet it's not the red district.
We are greatly honored by your presence.
The honor is mine, King. I was given the impression it was a matter of some urgency.
They are considering a formal inquiry.
What are the charges?
A miracle, Rabbi of rabbis. This man's testimony is clear. His account miraculous. The woman in the red quarter to whom you offered rights, she's redeemed.
You saw her?
Yes, teacher. Perfectly restored and radiant.
Where?
At the hairdressers at the market.
Men almost lie with the hairdressers.
Of course, they did not go in. But she was on an errand. I believe my eyes betrayed me, so I followed until I was certain. There can be no doubt. The teacher, he was successful. I told
Silence. This is unparalleled revelation. You yourself pointed out that the depth of her demonic oppression was beyond human aid. We want to send word to Jerusalem at once.
Abedin, with your permission, I would like to investigate the sighting myself before you conduct a formal inquiry into this or have news of its spread.
We will, of course, yield to your request once. May we inquire as to the reason for your reticence?
Just as this exorcism took some time to prove effective, it may have a tentative hold. It could come as a shock for a young woman of her station to be pored over by your learned judges, whereas mine's a familiar face.
It is decided. Conduct your investigation, but please be efficient. Clues of this kind, it grows legs.
So I think what's interesting here is we see Nicodemus show up. They tell him that she's healed and give him the credit for it. He doesn't deny the credit, but he wants to go find out the truth.
I guess what you think he's thinking, he's concerned that she's not truly healed?
Either that or she might spread the word about how she was healed.
He doesn't truly know about the encounter that she had after they had met together.
Right.
So as far as he's concerned, that was the last time that her issue was addressed. We know that to be false because we watched the end of the first episode, but I think it's kind of an interesting client take on things. Could have some weird ramifications though.
The way they've mixed the storylines, it's kind of odd to see them all running together. From reading the scriptures, it's different than when you see it on the screen when they put all the different storylines running at the same time. It's a lot different than what you read about, I think, in the scriptures. It's kind of more individualized in the scriptures, I think.
Yeah, excuse me, the book kind of reads, the Bible reads kind of different, whereas like it'll take a particular circumstance and it'll like super hyper focus on that.
Yeah.
And so everything's kind of more separated. It's a little different to watch it in a show format.
In like real time, like
Yeah.
all the actions of everyone's happening in like the same exact time.
Right.
It's a little different than really how you read it, I think.
Kind of what we're skipping over here is Peter and his brother Andrew is just talking to each other. They're kind of putting in a little spy work and see who's coming in.
Very incognito.
Oh yeah, they're just down in the bushes.
And they're trying to see who's coming in before Shabbat begins. The inference is that whoever is still out to sea will be working on Shabbat. So he'll know by the recognition of their vessels who's coming in and who's not. So the next clip's about Nicodemus.
Nico-Deeds.
Or should I just say, meow?
Nicodemus. It's the same guy that's in Mr. Deeds. Yeah. So Nico-Deeds and his wife are in. He's coming in and they're preparing for Shabbat feast, and he's going to do some praying and things before the Sabbath begins, because like we just watched, he's going to try to find out what happened with Mary before the Sabbath begins.
Gotcha.
So he's in a pretty big rush. He's trying to get himself together and get out the door.
Yep. All right, so here we go. Next clip.
They're in the bush.
You're not teaching today.
I like the lip
I
gloss.
have research.
Don't be too long. Our guests will be arriving early. Nico, they are dear colleagues who admire you. It will be like sharing loaves with God himself.
Wow.
Am I the only one hearing this?
It's a small gathering. And just go through it quickly.
I try to avoid spending too much time honoring God and our heritage.
So they're preparing for the feast. He's going to find Mary. The point of the clip is to kind of build his character up, but at the same time to notice that the people around him are putting him up on this pedestal. His position and station in life is so high that the people around him are lifting him up to, like she said, almost like a god status, which is kind of, it's hard for me to imagine, right? But, we do it even today in a way where we elevate movie stars or rock stars or whatever to a platform that's unattainable to reach. And we kind of forget that they're just people. They really are. They're just people.
Well, it kind of for her to claim that he is godlike, which is a reach. Well, he remembers the encounter with Mary, and he remembers at the very end she looked at him and said, "I don't know you."
Yeah.
So there's that inner struggle where he's like, I really don't think I did anything. I mean, he just kind of took off, and then next thing he hears, she's healed, and then the next time you see him, he's writing about demons and exorcism.
Right.
So it's kind of, it's almost like he's like, did I? You know what I mean?
He's very conflicted in his own, and there's a conflict between what he knows in his heart and what people are telling him.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in the first episode, it happened a few times too, where him and his wife was talking, and she was trying to support him up and build him up and be like, "No, you're this great teacher of teachers. You're this, you're that," and you could almost see on his face where he was like, "I don't know if I am."
In the previous scene to the one we're about to view, Mary's kind of gathering her stuff. It shows her gathering her stuff together for the feast on the Sabbath and preparation of that. This is where she leaves the tent after purchasing some candles.
We haven't really discussed Shabbat preparation or the timing. So Sabbath in these days was from Friday afternoon, Friday night to Saturday night is when it ended. And then there was a lot of things that they did in preparation for the Sabbath.
Food and wine and candles. And yeah, it's basically taking a day off and serving God for an entire day.
Yeah. And in remembrance of, the Garden of Eden and the creation of the universe and the world and men and everything in it. And also, they cleanse their bodies, they cleanse their house.
Right.
So there was a lot that went into it. Like, it was a big deal.
Yeah, they take a bath and they get the herd in.
Mm-hmm.
And, the preparation part was almost as important as the actual gathering. The gathering was a social activity under a religious blanket. So
Yeah.
even though you're not my family, you would be invited to possibly feast with me because it was a very open event socially.
Right.
Which that aspect of it, it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome thing to say, hey, you can come and dine with me even though I don't know you.
Right.
It's a very communal kind of thing. It's pretty cool. I like it.
It's you. It's real. Lilith. No, please, don't be frightened. My name is Nicodemus. I ministered to you, Lilith.
I don't answer to that name. I am Mary. I was born Mary.
But you were called Lilith, yes?
Please, I must go.
No, please, Mary. I am desperate for your help, Mary. I'm a Pharisee. I'm visiting from Jerusalem. I'm a man of God. And I believe you have experienced a miracle, Mary.
Are you really a Pharisee?
Yes. I'm sorry, I wasn't. I'm not here to enforce Jewish law.
So there you see he's not here to enforce Jewish law. So that's kind of where that plays in. Women are supposed to have their heads covered. So that was why she put on the headdress.
As soon as he showed her, and back then, like I said, you were known by your profession dictated the clothes you wore.
Mm-hmm.
Like a police officer wears a police uniform, a firefighter wears a firefighter uniform.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing with the Pharisees and common people. Roman soldiers look like Roman soldiers. That's the times.
Yeah.
So when he showed her his veil of the colors, it's like a cop showing you the badge.
Okay. That's cool.
So how do you know who I am?
You really don't remember me at all. I burned incense.
I don't remember.
He's not that burned incense.
I can't go back into that.
No, I don't want you to. I can't even imagine. But you are healed. That much is clear. I just want to understand how it happened.
That makes two of us.
How long after my visit did you feel the change?
It wasn't anything you did. It was someone else.
Dun dun dun.
One else?
He can't believe it.
He called me Mary. He said, I am his. I am redeemed.
And it was so? Who did this?
I don't know his name, And even if I did, I could not tell you.
Why not?
His time for men to know has not yet come.
It's time for men. He performs miracles and seeks no credit? Well, what does he look like? Is he a member of Sanhedrin? Would you at least know him if you saw him again?
I don't know why I am sharing this with you. I don't understand it myself. But here is what I can tell you. I was one way. And now I am completely different.
What do you got to say about that?
Big deal. There's kind of a lot to unpack there. I would like to kind of point out that he was like, he does miracles and doesn't want no credit.
Well, if we go back just a little bit where they're talking, and he at this point is trying to give himself credit for her for her deliverance.
Yeah.
And she flat out tells him it wasn't anything you did.
Right.
So she just pulls the rug out from under him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, really? Well, who was it? And she says, I can't tell you. And he's like, what do you mean you can't? Now we're going to pull rank. You see what I mean?
Not only can I not tell you, but if I could, I wouldn't.
Right. And so, Nicodemus is like, wait, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm an authority figure over you. You have to answer my questions, right? So he tries to pull a little bit of rank, and then she goes on to explain, and that's in a pretty powerful way.
Yeah. So,
but I kind of like that it's almost like he's starting to believe the hype a little bit when he first meets her.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of buying into something he did, and she was like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, because had he known who he was, he could have worked that to his benefit. All right, so everybody here is just kind of preparing for the Sabbath or Shabbat. So they're showing Nico-Deeds
Meow.
at his house getting ready, and Mary was getting ready at her house. Everybody's kind of preparing for the first feast. I just think it's a really good point. So we'll let you kind of watch it, and then we'll talk about it.
What's on your mind, love?
Yes, my dear. Do you know the significance?
Tell me.
200 years ago, we were ruled by the Greek king Antiochus IV. He suppressed our religious observances. It wasn't until the Maccabees revolted and ushered in the Hasmonean dynasty that our worship was restored.
You are as smart as you are handsome.
She admires his knowledge.
Who is responsible for suppressing our worship now? I fear I know the answer.
It is a beautiful tapestry.
We're here now.
Should the artist have made it less so? To what purpose? Sadness? A conquered people?
She's smart too.
You are wise as you are beautiful.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, honored Rabbi. We are humbled and honored by your presence in Capernaum. You make us whole.
Only God can do that.
I love that. I love that. His face immediately changes. Like,
From doubt to certainty.
oh yeah, like with 100% accuracy, I can say, I can't do that. I think he goes home and throws out that paper he was writing on demons and exorcism.
Well, that's a possibility. The thing that struck me about this scene was kind of the way his wife approached him. she didn't approach him in an attacking manner, so to speak, which
Right.
is, there's a lot to be said for that. If you see someone down and out, you don't attack them for it.
Yeah.
She brought up one of his strengths, which was, tell me about it. Tell me about the history. And let him say his strength, which was his knowledge, out in public, right in front of her. And then she was trying to point out that even in his weakness, he was strong in this area.
Yeah.
And that his strengths were good as though his weaknesses were bad. And maybe the silver lining in a cloud. And I thought that was really good of her to do something like that. A lot of times if we see a friend down and out, a lot of times we try to reason as to why they're in the position they're in.
Yeah.
Instead of pointing out to them, you have good qualities too. These things just happen. Like she points out about the tapestry, was the artist supposed to just be sad? Would he make it in sadness? Is it a representation of sadness and conquered people? Is it a representation of all the woes that we've had? Or is it a celebration? Do we look at it as a celebration of what we do have?
Yeah.
And so it's...
And I believe too, that's probably part of the reason where he was talking about the Greeks and when they was liberated. I wonder if it's kind of interesting that they brought it about, because it's kind of like in the Bible, the Pharisees and the Sadducees was rigid as far as their religion and their customs and their beliefs. So it makes me wonder if maybe that's part of the reason why. Because it was taken from them.
Yeah.
And suppressed.
Yeah, and what'd you do as a kid when someone tried to grab your toy out of your hands?
Oh yeah.
You held on tighter, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I could see that parallel where you hold something sacred because someone's tried to take it away for so many years.
Right. Yeah.
All right, for this next clip, this is Mary preparing for the Sabbath feast. And she hasn't done this previously much in her past, so this is going to be an experience.
She's preparing. She's nervous and excited at the same time. We've seen that in one of the clips throughout the episode. So here we go. She's got the candles.
She bought those. You can kind of get the sense by the way she placed the flower in the vase that everything has to be exact.
Yeah.
That's a neat little thing.
Barnaby,
Mary.
come in. I'm so glad you came.
Thank you, Miss Mary. This is a fine place.
Thank you. Are we on? Is it still on? Shula, how did you find us?
Followed that mule, Barnaby. Not that I waited. Looking as handsome as ever, Barnaby.
Lucky guess, Shula. Is this the place? If Mary's here, it is.
Do I know you?
Oh, sorry, I'm James. This is Thaddeus. We were told this would be a good place to come. We can leave if it's all.
Oh, no. Please come in. You're most welcome here.
So, can we help?
Oh, no. Well, yes, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, I see food. That's a victory.
If I'm not doing something or doing something wrong, tell me.
Nonsense. It's already great.
The guy saying, you got food, we're 90% there. Like, that is a me statement. If I show up to dinner, I don't care what we're having. As long as there's food, I'm game. I'm good.
Yeah.
You can place the chairs over how you want to. Just hand me a fork. So I love that reaction by him. It's like, it looks good to me. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
can't remember the last time I was invited to a Shabbat dinner.
Me, never.
You never been to Shabbat?
Of course I've been to one. Been to lots. Just never got invited. Who's the extra seat for?
For Elijah. Am I right? I remember my mother always setting an extra place for Elijah.
That's only for Passover. Just once a year, it's said.
Well, when Seder comes, I'll have a head start on setting up. Well, just take a look at my little notes. Let's see.
Can I read it for you, Mary?
Stop it, Barnaby. I read better than you. My father taught me.
Very impressive.
Is the first star out?
Yes, let's eat. Like I said, you're very popular.
Or it's a Pharisee here to shut us down for letting you be here.
Hello, Mary.
No.
It's good to see you.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to be rude, but would it be okay if I...
Oh, yes, of course. Please come in. I just have to you done. I live here. This is my first time. I don't know what I'm doing.
Rabbi.
You already know these men?
They are students of mine. I trust they have been polite.
Of course.
Awkward silence.
Your guest can take the seat. Yes, Mary? Oh, of course. Yes, of course, please. Have a seat. I keep saying of course a lot. Francis is the man I told you about who helped me. Oh, yes, yeah. Mary told us so much about you.
Oh, I hope not too much.
I'm Barnaby. This is Shula. She is blind.
Maybe she couldn't tell. I'm so sorry. I don't actually know your name.
I'm Jesus of Nazareth.
Well, apparently something good can come from Nazareth.
Oh my God.
What?
Why don't you?
Oh no, I couldn't. Now that you're here, you must.
Thank you, but this is your home, and I would love for you to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just read from this now. Now the heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts. And God completed on the seventh day his work that he did. And God abstained on the seventh day from all the work he did. And then God blessed the seventh day, and he hallowed it. For thereon he abstained from all the work that God created to do. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine.
You have lovingly and willingly given us.
You have lovingly and willingly given us your Shabbat as an inheritance in memory of creation.
Kind of a lot to unpack there. So Thaddeus and James.
Yes.
It's kind of the first time that we meet them as also two disciples, which they said that they was told to come. So Jesus sends them to Mary's to take Sabbath dinner with her, and then he shows up. I really liked that he came in and still had her to do the prayer.
Yeah.
To me, that's just amazing. I mean, he's the ultimate servant. He acts where he's needed, but never like a glory hog or like, hey guys, look at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Well, and the fact that he came in, he waited until she invited him. He kind of made a statement about, I'm standing in the street.
Yeah.
But when he came in, the chair that she had set for Elijah, which was traditional during Passover, I presume, that was the seat that Jesus sat in. Now, in the Old Testament, Elijah was one of the more renowned prophets of the Old Testament. And so people revered Elijah. He never died. He went up in a chariot of fire.
He's that guy.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
So anybody that walks that close with God, that you can get carried in a chariot of fire, and you run into the parallel of Jesus being a prophet of prophets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of, he was a little more than that, but that's kind of, the basis. I love the parallels that they're setting there. And that's done, and almost as, if you're not looking at that, if you're just watching the show, that parallel may escape you.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact her very first pass. Imagine the very first formal dinner that you ever give to anybody is to the Queen of England. Can you imagine impressing someone like the Queen of England with a formal dinner that you prepared?
Yeah, and he was so humble. I know the first time we see him on screen, he's delivering Mary Magdalene, and then the second time we see him on screen, he is taking part in a Sabbath celebration put on by her, and he's just there to attend. Like, that's just, to me, that's just amazing, because he was always a servant of his people.
Yeah, and one more thing I'd like to say on this clip is we kind of skipped over him in this episode, but the shot of Matthew sharing his Sabbath dinner with a dog in a street, no friends, no relatives to share it with, and we just talked about the social environment of Sabbath feasts, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's such an outcast. He's sharing his meal with a dog in the street. Like, that's his closest friend, is a dog that he passed by on the way to his parents' house. It's a lot of inference that they're portraying psychologically to get you to understand that this person was this much of an outcast and that this dinner was this big of a deal. What's your overall feeling of the episode, or the 1 to 2 episodes that we've watched so far?
So
we'll recap at the end of this season. We'll recap the entire season.
Yeah.
But just so far, as a new watcher to the series.
Yeah. So like, I'm personally, I like some of the things that they're doing. I'm a stickler on Scripture and staying true to Scripture. I understand that there's cinematic liberties that's taken to make shows, entertaining and watchable. And I get that. I don't dislike the show. I like a lot of the ways that they're doing things, because these people was real people at a real time in our history. So there's a lot of things that is assumed, like we can assume they ate every day, even though it's not in Scripture. Obviously, it had to happen for them to survive.
Right.
Things like that, that may not be in Scripture, and I understand that they have to have lives and stuff. So I think that's cool. I really, honestly don't know how I feel about it at this point. I'm not like 100%. Yes, I'm a fan, and I'm not saying I'm against it either.
So my relationship with the show so far is, I think it's a great show.
Mhm.
But I think if you're looking for biblical accuracy, I would advise reading the 4 Gospels for yourself.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is not because they're doing it all wrong or anything like that. It's just there's some things that they had to do to make their storylines cross over one another, because like I said, in the Bible it's pretty laid out. This happens, it's like an index list.
Yeah.
Instead of you've got multiple stories going on simultaneously.
Right.
And so in order to do that, they had to put in some background things and do some other things that the Bible kind of doesn't mention. And we'll have to see where it goes from here in episode number 3. But I mean, it intrigues me to see the writing style of the show, because they are making very valid points.
Yeah.
And there is a certain humanity behind it, as far as Nicodemus's doubt in his abilities, and maybe seeing the parallels of the inner conflict between what his job is and who he is.
Yeah. One thing that I would like to point out, kind of the last little thing that I had, was as much when I read the Gospels and I knew Jesus was Jewish, it never dawned on me that he wore a yarmulke.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Like it really puts in perspective for you. These are real people that they did real things.
All right, guys. See you next week.